Disclaimer. This bonus episode discusses issues relating to children's mental health. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to a Chatting with Casey Children's Mental Health Week special. Episode 4, Get a Checkup from the Neck Up. Welcome to Chatting with Casey, the podcast that's all about family, food, fashion, and faith, and travel, and tech, and exploring the reasons why we do the things we do. It's been one heck of a Children's Mental Health Week trying to write about children's mental health while handling mine in the process. And we make it all too easy for parents to complain about the, things they do for their kid, whether it's taking them here and feeding them there, when really there are much bigger things we could be worrying about in the world. I joined Children's Mental Health Ontario as a digital ambassador because you never know what the future has in store. There's an ad campaign for the Ontario Shores Foundation for Mental Health Give for Tomorrow campaign that constantly makes me think. I see them on my way to work each day with phrases like, at 22, Hannah will be treated for anxiety to reduce thoughts of suicide, or at 40, Lucas will experience trauma and be treated for PTSD. The point is, everything might be fine today, but there's no telling what could happen tomorrow. So why not work to build a society with as many different supports as possible? I think my fellow parent and CMHO ambassador Laurie McCann would agree, since she's had to struggle with the system we currently have, not the one we hope for in the future. Laurie McCann, better known as the Coffee Cop on Twitter, has spent years trying to navigate Ontario's mental health care system in support of her daughter who started suffering from mental illness at an early age. And she could tell you some stories. She's dedicated plenty of her time to sharing her family's experience so they, and other families like them, wouldn't go unheard. We only chatted for a bit, but I encourage you to follow her on social media to learn more about what she has to say. Links in the show notes. But for now, let's get into it and chat with Laurie in our 4th Chatting with Casey Children's Mental Health Week special, Get a Checkup from the Neck Up. I hope you give it a listen. Hi everyone, Casey here with Laurie McCann. Laurie, how are you?
I am good. How are you doing, Casey?
I think I'm doing well, thanks. Thanks for joining us for this chat for Children's Mental Health Week.
I wouldn't miss it.
That's a good sign because I think a lot of people would because they don't really think about all the things that go into the situations around children's mental health.
I totally agree with you. And I think the more that we talk about it, the louder we're going to get. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, for sure. So your name was, brought to my attention as a fellow Children's Mental Health of Ontario ambassador, as well as the fact that you have a very personal connection towards all of the things that go on in this sphere.
Very, very true. So I am one of the, I don't know if we want to call it digital ambassador or ambassador for the Children's Mental Health of Ontario. And as well, I have a daughter that has mental health. If we want to say issues or illness, whatever term we want to use. But yes, so it's very personal to me.
And I think one of the things that, my kids are super young. They're 3 and 5, and their entire idea of the world is still super innocent and simplistic. And I'm kind of looking at it like, I feel like there's a lot of parents around me with kids of a similar age who really don't think about what the future might hold and maybe don't empathize as much when it comes down to what the world of children's mental health is all about.
I agree. And I think my kids are 9 and 12, almost 13. But like I think everything in life, we really don't understand the impact it could or could not have on somebody until we're actually dealing with it ourselves. And that's when it becomes an eye-opener, and especially with children's mental health and how broken our system really is.
So to speak on that, um, from the stance of a parent who's, in this arena and dealing with it, how has it changed your life?
Dealing with mental health and my child. Um, well, accessing resources and getting help. If we walked into um, a doctor's office and said, I need to see a doctor about a broken arm, they're not going to tell you to come back in 8 to 12 months. They're going to help you, right? But when your child is in crisis and they're like, well, we can't fit you in until, 6 months down the road, that's not helping anybody. And then it's the parents that are trying, and I'm not a doctor, I'm just a parent trying to raise 2 girls and, my husband and I, but trying to get her the help she so desperately needs and deserves. And in the interim is dealing with a lot of mental health issues that are not being addressed.
Well, that's nuts to think that it takes that long to really get in the door, especially I think it's as a societal issue, mental health is really being downplayed for way too long. And the fact that you have to wait 8 to 12 months for something when, the issue could cause more issues as soon as later today, tomorrow. That's nuts.
It is. And that's one of the big reasons when I got involved with Children's Mental Health of Ontario is to advocate not only for my daughter, but for every other youth out there that is struggling to get the help they need.
And I think it's fair to say that, one of the things we could probably do better on top of addressing it from a policy standpoint and making sure that we are aware of the issues at hand is that perhaps we need to do more listening to our youth and not downplaying, the issues that they say they're facing when it comes to their day-to-day lives.
Oh, 100%. And I think sometimes, and it's human nature that we do that. And we truly don't understand what they're going through because sometimes they downplay it because of stigma, right? Stigma is a huge thing with mental health for both youth and adults. Mm-hmm. So they'll downplay it, or we as parents maybe, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. And
the age-old boys will be boys, or it's only you're only this old. You'll get it when you're an adult.
Yeah, it's just a phase, that kind of stuff. And I mean, when we say youth, this goes right up. We have to think of teenagers, right, and ones that are going off to college because there's a huge scale when it comes to mental health. With kids in college, first year college. They need resources. They need resources on hand at universities and colleges for these kids struggling.
And one of the things I've heard is that, there's the entire drop off when kids become 18 and then they have to re-enter things all over again. It's like a reset button when the issues haven't reset themselves.
Absolutely, because now they're considered an adult, right? Mm-hmm. Like with my daughter, we had an incident where she really wasn't talking, and I found that the appointments at the psychiatrist weren't productive. Mm-hmm. So I said to the psychiatrist, "Let's take a break," and she was on board absolutely. 5 months later, she was declining, and we really needed to get in. And they had closed our file, and we had to start from scratch, like we had never been there. And waited another, I think, 10 months before we could get in. She needed to get in right away, and it wasn't happening.
So how do you cope in all that time? Like when you're waiting for that next phone call or next opening?
We did the best we could dealing with it ourselves, what we could do. It's not like you can just call up a therapist and go, hey, can we come in and see you? Because you have to find the right fit, right? Mm-hmm. It's okay to doctor shop. And that's one thing I think parents need to understand. If your child is not happy with a therapist, then you find a new one. Mm-hmm. And you find one until it's a good fit. And I've done that. If it doesn't work, then you move on. So yeah, we had to cope and do a lot of things on our own because what else could you do? Family doctors can't really help. She needed to be diagnosed. She needed to have medication, and her psychiatrist was the only one that could do that.
And I guess it sounds like, we're in a situation where it's a growing issue. I mean, especially when we look at the impact of social media and how it's reshaping what childhood means. And we don't have the same growth in the number of resources available to help with the problem. So are we looking at something where there is perhaps no positive answer coming, or just that we need to change and shift our paradigm to make sure we can get there?
I think we need to change and shift our paradigm. I wouldn't say that there's not positive. I think, and I'm hopeful that things will get better for families, like wait times. where our office is, one of the psychiatrists quit, so now the other two had to take on her patients. So that's a big workload.
Wow.
These psychiatrists are overworked, absolutely. And I think part and parcel to that, do we think there's more youth, adults, the general population with more mental health? My opinion is no. I just think more people are actually talking and more people are seeking help, which makes, these psychiatrists a lot busier, but we don't have enough psychiatrists to take on the amount of patients that need the help. So I'm hoping that changes. I'm hopeful that will change, that we will not always have these struggles for our kids and that the help will be there when they need it, not 6, 8, 12 months down the road.
Fair enough. It's the entire adage of kids can't wait, as we've been saying forever and ever now, right?
100%.
So what can the every person do? The non-parents or people who with kids who aren't, in the system and figuring things out. What can we do to help?
I think let's look even at the educational system, right? Is having and not all teachers are like this or not like, I'm not saying this because some are very understanding, is understanding these kids that have IEPs because of their mental health, understanding in the classroom, because that should be a safe place for our kids.
Of course.
And when your kids do not want to go to school or can't handle going to school because of the stress, maybe they have anxiety, it shouldn't be that way. They need to have, because I think teachers make all the difference in the world for students that are dealing with mental health issues, 100%. So I think even with parents that don't have kids with mental health issues doesn't mean they can't be voices for these kids. Because you never know if you're ever going to need one of those resources.
Right.
Like we say to adults, and why can't this apply to youth as well? You need to get a checkup from the neck up. We will go for every other ailment in our body. Why don't we go and get a checkup from the neck up just to make sure everything's okay upstairs?
That's a smart thing to say. I mean, I'm from the, Black community where mental health hasn't exactly been a top priority for us for a very, very long time. And I've, grown up with my own issues to overcome and whatnot. And I'm very pro getting the help you need from a mental standpoint. And there's a lot of, stigmas to overcome, as I know you're well aware. And there's so much we need to do as I won't even say a society, but even the communities within the societies. We need to do a lot better at being able to identify when people need help and be able to, if it's at the very least, lend an ear or a shoulder or just be there to listen and take it in, or, do something more active to help each other out. I think we just need to, as you say, get louder, get out there and let more people be aware that we can all be advocates for it. We don't have to be in the mix to, help out.
Yeah, I agree. So I think you said it, have a lending ear. Sometimes people just need to vent. Sometimes people just need to be heard, right? Even children with mental health issues, it's just being heard, right? So just listening. And as human beings, we want to fix people, right? That's what we do. No, I can fix this. I have an answer for you. And sometimes they don't want that. They don't want to be fixed. They just want to be heard. And this goes from children right up to adults. We just have to listen. And that's such an important factor for people to understand. Listen. That's it. Don't try and fix. Just listen to them.
It's that's why they say of 2 ears and 1 mouth, right?
That's right. 100%. That's exactly why.
So, Lori, if there are any other key things that you want people to know going into Children's Mental Health Week and beyond, because, 1 week won't fix everything. It just helps bring more awareness towards things. Anything else that we can drive into everyone's minds out there so they remember as the months and year go on?
I think the key thing is to understand that what sometimes you see on the outside isn't always what's going on the inside for that child. They may come across as happy. They may come across as cheerful. But that could be a persona that they're putting on because they don't want people to know what they're going through, whether it's anxiety, whether it's OCD, whether it's ODD, or depression. So really, really understand that what you see isn't always what's happening with that child, and to giving them that extra few minutes might make a difference.
Great words of wisdom to work by. So thank you, Lori. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Get a checkup from the neck up might be some of the sagest advice I've ever heard when it comes to mental health. I've always said that everyone could benefit from a psychiatrist visit in their lives, and with any luck, we'll start seeing as much value in it as Lori does. But that's another one for the books. Children's Mental Health Week bleeds into Mental Health Month and then the need to make this a year-round discussion. But for now, here's hoping that we gave you a little food for thought. Be well out there, everybody, and we'll see you soon. If you want to check out more content from Children's Mental Health Week or to join the Kids Can't Wait movement, make sure to visit the Children's Mental Health Ontario website at cmho.org or check out the links on my website. They're all in the show notes, like usual. We'll catch you at the next chat. Bye-bye. So everyone, that was Lori McCann for Children's Mental Health Week, and you can find out more about everything going on for the Children's Mental Health Ontario at the Children's Mental Health. Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to edit this later. This is why I have edits, and I can do I was like, oh man, I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, let's try that one more time. I'm gonna close out. Okay, here we go.